Wouldn't want to be stuck in that. It's a fire tornado. I mean, what? That's full on. You can rely on Australia to turn up the weather so weird that it gets its own nickname. Firenado. A scary vortex of flames spinning at 200 kilometers an hour. I know, it sounds like a bad film, but I promise you, these things are very real.
At the far right, the funnel of the tornado comes into view.
This is rather frightening. Oh, I get pitted with stuff. Stinging the daylights out of me. Sheets of tin floating. You near it in the camera. Power lines going down.
The first ever one of these that was documented happened in Australia's capital in 2003. I found a local who experienced it firsthand. Hi Christine. January 18, 2003. Can you talk me through that day?
Okay. Well, it was hot. It was blindingly hot. And our daughter knocked on the door and said, "Have you guys got any idea what's going on outside?" And we went, "No." And we went outside and there was just these columns of smoke just pouring out. It was terrifying. And next thing, this noise. It was like a jet liner was about to land on our roof. The house was just vibrating.
Residents didn't know it, but the fire had morphed into a tornado.
The woman at the end of the street told us this thing, whatever it was, had taken her roof off, the complete roof, lifted it up and deposited it on Mount Taylor. We saw it there for weeks after.
Could anything have sort of prepared you for that particular day?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I think you have to live through a tornado to know what a tornado feels like, to know that it was just like being in the middle of hell. Everything is suspended. The laws of nature are suspended. Nothing could have prepared me for that.
True fire tornadoes are rare. Most of the videos you'll see online are actually fire whirls. The difference is in the way they're formed. Fire whirls are spiraling flames. They whip up in a bushfire when wind catches from both directions.
Fire whirls tend to be smaller, and usually you'll have a spinning column of flame, quite visible.
But a fire tornado is something more fierce. It's literally a tornado made of fire. For this, you need a fire big enough to create its own weather storm.
A fire tornado is really a weather event inside a larger weather event, being the firestorm. You're going to have bits of embers and flames carried along. It's basically all the things that you get from a regular tornado, but throwing in fire and embers as well.
Only a unique set of conditions will trigger a fire tornado.
You've got the winds creating rotation within the air, in the air mass. Once you get a thunderstorm forming over that, you get big drafts, which then will sort of tilt that rotating air upwards. And if you get enough rotation throughout that whole column of air, then that's when you start to get a tornado.
Wind and fire make a powerful duo. But let's take a closer look at the physics. Obviously, we can't build a thunderstorm in here. Instead, we're going to make a fire whirl, so we can see how the wind influences the vortex. Get the base of a tea light candle, add some rubbing alcohol. Goggles, gloves, light it up. Now let's see what happens when we put the cylinder on top. Nothing. But if we offset the cylinder a little bit, whoa! We have a fire whirl. That's a pretty cool trick. That's spinning convection at play. To get the flame to spin, we need to introduce some form of rotation. So when I offset the cylinder, it forces the air to move in opposite directions. That starts the spinning rotation, and then the upwards heat causes the flame to go zoom. Fire whirls are a lot more common than their supersized tornado cousins. But could we be seeing more fire tornadoes in the future?
I mean, it really comes down to how prone you are of getting these large firestorms developing. If you get one of those intense enough forming, then there's always going to be a likelihood that a tornado could form. The 2019 Black Summer saw over 30 firestorms, a record number.
So what we see when we look at climate change trends, so those dangerous conditions are occurring more often, particularly in southern Australia.
Here, hot, dry landscapes and cold air fronts form a lethal combo.
To make a thunderstorm, thunderstorms actually like a bit of moisture.
That involves these cold fronts which periodically come across the bottom of Australia. And when the front comes in, you've got that instability in the atmosphere, so firestorms will become more prevalent.
So firestorms are on the rise. Does that possibly mean more firenadoes?
We haven't yet been able to understand how that might relate to a fire-generated tornado. I think that's going to be a few more years or more of research needed until we get to that point.